All right, BlakGooseTV family. So, everybody in the boxing community is well aware of the way WBC has treated Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte has been a #1 contender to Deontay Wilder's belt for over 600 days. Obviously, in the past year, even before this, but really in the past year, you've seen a lot of reports coming from Dillian Whyte's team, Dillian Whyte himself, criticizing the WBC organization and basically implying that they're corrupt and that they just don't know what they're doing. In response, the WBC has came out publicly, basically denying a lot of the claims coming from Dillian Whyte, and there's also been reports saying that the WBC is unhappy with Dillian Whyte because of the things he's been saying and basically outing the WBC on certain information they would like to keep secret. Apparently, Deontay Wilder came out this morning. I'm reading this off of badlefthook.com, so shout out to them. And Deontay Wilder said the only person Dillian Whyte has to blame is himself when it comes to fighting him. Obviously, when it comes to boxing fans like ourselves, we're basically on the outside looking in. So what I mean by that is we get to read all the reports, we get to see all the interviews, and basically put together a narrative or put together an idea of what's going on or why it happened ourselves. Never knowing the truth. There's obviously always inside information that we don't know about, things behind the scenes that goes on that we can never even fathom. And sometimes we're lucky enough to have a fighter or a promoter or something in that matter speak a little bit on it, and we get a kind of like an inside glimpse on what goes on behind the scenes. And in this article, Deontay Wilder kind of did this. If what he's saying is true, it definitely gives a lot of the boxing fans that were on Dillian Whyte's side and against the WBC something to think about. So this is what he said. He said, I told Dillian Whyte I'll give him two options. I told him to sign with PBC when he came from over here network shopping, which if you guys are aware, Dillian Whyte's contract ended last year. Last year he did a little network shopping to see if he was going to sign with anyone. People said he did talks with PBC, did talks with DAZN. Ultimately, he did end up back with Matchroom Boxing, which is Eddie Hearn under DAZN. But the way he did it similar to how Deontay Wilder does his deals. Rather than doing a long-term contract with big money, he went for a shorter-term contract. I think he did like a 2-fight, 3-fight deal with Matchroom. So he kind of has control of his own fate. I believe his last fight on the contract would be a reves. If it's not a reves, he probably has one more fight before the end of the year, and he'll be a free agent again. But back to what Deontay Wilder was saying. He said, when he was network shopping, I told him to sign with PBC in order for him to want to fight me. He would just have to sign a 1-fight deal. In that 1-fight deal, then we'll go ahead and do the fight. So Deontay Wilder saying, look, all he had to do was when he was looking for basically a new promotional company to be under, he could have came to PBC for that 1 fight, and I would have fought him. Now, let's dig deeper into that statement a little bit. Now, as true as that statement may be, you can't ever take anything as face value, in my opinion. You kind of got to look at the what would be the word for it? You got to look at the context of why he's saying this. So what I mean by that is, let's think about the time period this happened. This was last year, okay? Last year, Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder had their big fight. Before that fight, Deontay Wilder fought a Luis Ortiz. So let's just be 100. As much as Deontay Wilder may have told Dillian Whyte that, and he probably had plans on, if you sign with PBC, it'll be easy for us to make this fight. I think Dillian Whyte saw himself, as well as whoever his manager was. It looks like you have your future laid out, Wilder. It looks like, you know what I'm saying, you're going to fight Fury. And then after Fury, everything is kind of up in the air. And before that, who knows when the negotiation, it may have been going on when right after the Luis Ortiz fight or right before the Luis Ortiz fight. Either way, from Dillian Whyte's perspective, it's like you already got things laid out. So how are you going to be able to fit me in for a 1-fight deal this year? Because I'm like, if you take a 1-fight deal last year, you expect to fight in that year, which Dillian Whyte fought. I believe it was 2 times last year. He fought Parker and he fought Chisora. So you're telling Dillian Whyte he would have to take a 1-fight deal wait around until you're ready to fight him, and possibly he may not even get that fight for the whole year. So let's keep that in perspective. The next thing that Wilder said he told Dillian Whyte to do was to face Luis Ortiz, give him his word, and if he does that, then he'll give him his word that he'll fight Whyte after. So regardless if Whyte lost to Ortiz or if he won, Wilder said, hey, just fight Luis Ortiz, we'll fight after. So the context of this situation. So when are you telling him to fight Luis Ortiz, okay? Are you telling him to fight him this year? Because the WBC ordered Brazil to be your mandatory. So unless you're already the franchise champion, which they are, I do believe they're planning on making Deontay Wilder the franchise champion. But since you weren't at that time, how would you be able to bypass your mandatory and fight a Dillian Whyte? And also this, what if Dillian Whyte lost to Luis Ortiz in very embarrassing fashion? Will Wilder still be interested in that fight? So I understand from Dillian Whyte's perspective, there's a lot of skepticism. A lot of the things that Wilder is offering, it just, like, there's no end game to it. Like, it seems like a lot of false promises. It seems like you're just telling me things I want to hear, but when I really look into it, when I really think about it, or when I really put the situation in front of me and see how things would go, it wouldn't go the way you're telling me it would go. It seems like you're kind of, I don't know, it's weird. Okay, so here's the third thing that he said that basically was like strike three. Okay, then he said, Wilder continued by saying that the WBC then ordered Whyte to face Ortiz in a title eliminator match. So yeah, they said strike three. Wilder continued by saying that the WBC then ordered Whyte to face Ortiz in a title eliminator match. Another fight, Whyte declined. Strike three, says Wilder. And finally, Wilder says that strike four came when he told Matchroom promoter Eddie Hearn that he would fight Whyte if he was guaranteed a fight with Anthony Joshua immediately after. That obviously did not happen either. So, all in all, what I want to ask y'all is, who would you put the blame on? Do you put most of the blame on Dillian Whyte for not being able to get that title fight with Deontay Wilder? Do you put the blame on WBC, the organization as a whole? Or would you put the blame on Eddie Hearn and Matchroom? Between those three. Obviously, Deontay Wilder is saying most of the blame should go on Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte saying most of the blame should go on the WBC. No one really talks about Eddie Hearn being in the mix of this, so I want to know who y'all think deserve the most blame for Dillian Whyte being in the position that he is. And now, go ahead, comment, like, subscribe, do all the shit y'all do. Mr. Positivity, Black Goose family.